Hi everyone, and thank you for coming to That's So Nova. Today I'm going to do a tutorial that is a slight modification, but not too much of a modification. We are going to do the Bonnie bucket bag, but we're going to do it with the Bonnie bucket drawstring tutorial. One of the admins in the group named Darcy helped inspire the Lucy, made the drawstring tutorial inspired by the Lucy backpack. So what you would need is to get this Bonnie bucket pattern to follow along, because I've already interfaced all my my woven pieces as well as cut out everything. And then you would need to go into the Swoon Facebook section under File, and you'll see Bonnie bucket Lucy mashup. And I will put links for both the Bonnie bucket, and if you do click that link and buy that pattern, I do get a small percentage because that is an affiliate link. But in the drawstring, hopefully you're in the Swoon group, then you can download this. I think it's 3 pages. It's 2 instructions and 1 is for the grommet placements. And we're going to go from there. So in this tutorial, we're going to pretty much do everything from the Bonnie bucket. We're just going to omit the zipper. We're going to do the welt pocket in the front. And then, of course, we're not doing the strap connectors because I'm going to make an adjustable strap that goes, you can loop inside the grommet, so that way it can be a little bit easier. Let's get started. So first, we're going to work with the Bonnie bucket pattern. We're going to go on page 1. And we are going to assemble the main panels. Now my main panels are canvas, and I used Sew Fuse Plus in the back. You can use Shapeflex 101 or any other woven interfacing that you want it. This is a drawstring bag, and I kind of don't want it to be too structured because then it's supposed to be slouchy. It's supposed to be like a nice bucket bag. So we're going to start with this, put a couple clips in it, and as you can see, I kind of draw my seam allowances on things. It's something that I do. Let me sew off this, and I'm going to use 40 weight thread today. And I'm actually not using Waywack, believe it or not. I've seen this beautiful thread in this it's a zipper group and hardware group, and it's called Wizardly Stitcherly, and they have this beautiful thread that was like has this blue variant, and I was like, I have to have you. Blue's my favorite color, so anytime I see it, I'm automatically gravitated to it. We're sewing out a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'm using I think a 2.5 stitch length. You can do 3, 4, whatever is easier for you. I don't know why I like 2.5 woven. I think it's because when I'm making garments, normally that's the stitch length you use. And I'm going to use my bad iron, and hopefully I get a new iron ASAP, because it keeps, this iron likes to leak really, really bad. I'm going to press these seams open. And I'm going to go in the front and press. And I'm going to leave my iron right here, and then I'm going to top stitch 1/4 of an inch from the seam allowance. The seam that we just created, we're going to top stitch 1/4 of an inch on this side and on the opposite side. Now you could draw that out with chalk or a heat erasable pen. You can eyeball it. That's one panel done. And we just have to do another. I really like the shape of this bag. It has a very unique shape to me. Make sure you sew the right seam. I have accidentally sewed the high pointy side so many times. It's not even funny. Trimming the threads. Pressing. And then going on the top and just pressing it again. It's really sealing in those stitches. Cleaning my iron down so I don't burn myself, because that happens all the time, believe it or not. 1/4 of an inch on both sides of the center seam. Trimming threads. All right. So we are on page 2. Now we're going to make the exterior pocket for the front. We're going to do a welt pocket without the zipper. So the way this needs to go is it needs to be, the line of the box needs to start 9 inches away. So I'm going to grab my ruler. 9 inches from the bottom. Is here. I'm just using a chalk pencil. I'm just marking my center before I put find the center before we use the facing. We're gonna make a box like you do with zippers for this welt pocket. I just want to make sure I have my center. Let's see. We're gonna make it 7 inches, so 3.5 on each side. It's going to be a 1/2 inch wide, and I'm just marking 3.5 on each side of the crease, which is 7, which will equal 7, and I'm now going to connect that. I take my time on when I'm doing anything like this. It's not being a perfectionist. You're cutting into your fabric, and it can be kind of like nerve-wracking. I hope that you can see this, how I'm creating this zipper pocket. Like, I'm using chalk on black, so I'm hoping it translates pretty well on camera. So this line that I drew here, I need to center it match the centers. And what I can double check is make sure that this box starts at 9 inches, which it does, from the bottom to the top. And then I'm going to pop a few pins so this doesn't shift while I'm sewing. Oh, these are the worst pins ever. The stars just pop off. I like throw these pins away like at least 2 pins a day. I have better ones, but use what you got. And we are going to sew around this box before we cut. Now, when I do zipper pockets, I try to use like a two. I like really small, tight stitches, so that way I can make this box as perfect as I possibly can. It may not be perfect, but I'm going to try. Okay, I'm going to trim these loose threads. Remove these pins. Grab a pair of sharp scissors. And I'm just going to pierce my fabric with my the sharp end of my scissors. Or if you have a seam ripper, if you have a seam ripper, you can just start it like so you can start the hole and then cut into your fabric. And when you get to the corners, get as close as you can without hitting the stitches. I know that's hard sometimes. Never fail. I sometimes always hit my stitches because I'm trying to get too close. So just take your time. If you do hit your stitch, you can go around that area like 1/8 of an inch, like around again, so that way you can correct the mistake. Okay. So now I'm going to get my leaky little iron and I'm going to warm this up, press it, just pressing it, and then I'm going to take the black fabric that I have, the facing, and turn it inside here so we can have an opening. I'm just pressing this. Give it some steam. And I'm going to go to the front and press it as well. It's a nice rectangle. And you want to make sure that you don't have to, like, I used black because when I was about to start filming this, I realized I forgot to cut out the zipper facing. So I was like, hey, I'm just going to use a scrap piece of black. That's why I like scraps, because you can use them for facings. No one's going to see them. They're inside the bag. All right. So we have that part done. I'm going to put my iron down for right now, and then we're going to make the welt pocket. We're going to put these right sides together. And these are 2 inches, if I'm not mistaken. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these and just draw a 1-inch line across. And we're going to put these together. You could pin or clip. And we're going to base this. Now I'm going to base at 4. Okay. Let's see. We're on page 5. We are going to then, I'm going to press these, take the pockets. We're going to make wrong sides touch and just press it open like this. So it was like this. We're going to take the original fabric and just press it over. Open. So here's the basted seam, and go over it. As my iron keeps leaking. I'm so irritated by it because it's like I keep putting the distilled water in it, and it is not being cooperative. All right, so that's all nice and pressed. What we're gonna do is you could pin, glue, use double-sided tape. Whatever's easier for you. I'm going to get some double-sided tape. You can use beads of glue too, if you wish, but whatever's easier for you. So what I'm going to do is on here, I'm going to put some double-sided tape. It's about 1/8 of an inch away from the opening, because I don't want the tape to peek through, because that happens to me a lot too. This will be like the perfect time to use like Joann's clothing tape, because it doesn't go up the needles. I know Cereal Bag Maker has like a really good no gum up the needles kind of tape too. Alright, and I'm trying to just get it to make sure it looks even as possible. Like, so this is why I like double-sided tape, because you can reposition it. Alright, so what we're going to do is sew around. I'm not putting a zipper in this. You can. There's instructions that on page 4 if you want to put a zipper. Let's see, I'm repositioning this because I want the center of the welt pocket wasn't lined up how I wanted it to be. Alright, that looks better. It looks more even. So if you're going to do the zipper, the next step on page 5 will give you the instructions. I just like to have a slip pocket for your hands or your cell phone when you're having a drawstring. You can add to this bag. Like, this is the only pocket they have. You can put a pocket in the lining. I'm not doing so because I'm trying to follow the pattern as best as possible, and they have a pocket right here. So I'm going to sew around this box 1/8 of an inch away from it to secure this welt pocket. And let me, I'm going to decrease my stitch length to a 2.5. Okay, just okay. I'm just going to okay. I'm gonna pull my threads to the back so that there's no back stitching on here. So let's see. So when you're pulling your stitches to the back, you're grabbing, you're pulling the thread from the front to come to the back, and all the stitches will just, all the thread comes to the back, and then you tie it in a few knots in the back. So that way that there's no back stitches in the front. It just looks, it looks really clean. You don't have to do this. It's just now something that I do all the time. And when I don't do it, it irritates me. All right. So we're going to now attach the pocket. So we're going to attach the right side of the pocket to the right side of the welt. So we're on the back side. So we're going to attach this here. We're going to pin this, and then we're going to then flip it and grab here. We're going to make sure we're not sewing into the canvas at all, or your vinyl, or whatever you're using. So you can just grab a couple clips. And I'm going to kind of hold my fabric out of the way and sew these two together. And you're definitely going to back stitch a few times. And you can see the seam allowance that you have. It's like you have a little bit over 1/4 of an inch. Trim your threads. And then we're going to grab the back of it and line it up to here. So if you have directional fabric, make sure, you see how like when my hand goes in the pocket, I'm seeing the fabric go down and up, vice versa. Doing the same thing, I'm going to flip everything to the back and line the bottom to the bottom of the welt. I like welt pockets. I like them in clothes, and I like them in bags because I find them more useful. I like a lot of zipper pockets, but I notice when I don't ever really close my zippers. Like I throw things in there and I don't actually zip up my zipper unless I'm going somewhere like public and I know there's going to be like a lot of people, like going to a theme park or carnival or a con. But other than that, most of the time I don't zip anything up. Some people do, and I'm just unfortunately one that doesn't. So your pocket should now lay like this. We're going to sew down the sides to close off this pocket. So you have your pocket like this. We're going to go down the sides. And make sure you catch this little triangle because that's part of the welt pocket. It just gives it that extra piece of security. You can back stitch on that a couple times. And we're going to do it on the other side. Trim all the threads. Okay. Trim all the threads. All right. Then we're going to open up this welt pocket. Because you just use basting stitches, you should be able to go in and remove all the stitches. This red part, the little knob thing goes down below, so it helps protect your fabric and you don't accidentally cut into it. So you can use scissors with this, but it's just easier with the seam ripper. And voila, you have a nice welt pocket. You can put your phone, like, you can grab your phone and just be like, oh, I'm on the go. Bye, you know? And it's that easy. You could put that for, you could do that inside linings. Like, you could do things that are super cost effective in bag making. Like, I know zippers can cost a lot, but this, you can use just scrap fabric. These are like 2-inch pieces that are like 7 inches long. And we all have scrap fabric, and they're perfect to do welt pockets and things along that line, so that way you can save money. Because like I said, I have a lot of clients ask for a lot of zippers, but then when I throw in like a welt pocket, they're like, oh my gosh, that's really cool. So now we're going to just focus on the bottom pieces of this. So let me grab those real quick. All right, and we are going to fold the shorter long edge part a 1/2 inch. Press down a 1/2 inch. So we're going to press down. So what I'm going to do is, we have to do a 1/2 inch. What I'm going to do is draw a 1-inch box. I mean 1 inch. And then we're going to take our iron and then press the 1-inch line. So it folds in a 1/2 inch perfectly. Okay. Grab my iron. Or if you're using vinyl, you can use some double-sided tape. Or if you're using vinyl too, you can just have a raw edge and just not have to have a fold line, so that way it could be less bulk. If you're using waterproof canvas, you can add a little heat or use double-sided tape. I like using waterproof canvas for the outside of bags. I like the way it looks. Okay, and then what we're going to do is take our panels, and we're going to place this at the bottom, and then I'm going to put some clips in. And we're going to like machine base around the whole pocket. 1/4 of an inch from the edge, or you can do 1/8. It's really your personal preference. You'll hear that a lot in sewing, your personal preference, because everyone has like a different stitch length and like what they like in a bag. Like some people like really big stitches. It's just amazing. That's the great thing about the bag world. It's that you can create anything you want and how you want it. Okay. Move it to the side, and then I am going to take this to the side, and I always like to start at a side, and then I do a couple back stitches just to secure it. Always have your needle down. And if you're doing vinyl, this could be like double-sided tape again as your best friend. At the bottom, I really do like to use 1/4 of an inch because when we're putting on the base, and if I have to snip into the bag to make it smoother, I had that stitch line to know it's exactly 1/4 of an inch versus me drawing it. And I'm just gonna, this blue fabric is, it just frays a lot. Like, a lot. I love it because I like the way the denim looks, but the fraying is ridiculous. And when we base this down, you're going to base down the pocket as well. So it's not just like flopping around and... You can do bigger stitches here, just to make, if that's what you like the look of it, because sometimes bigger stitches are just so beautiful on a bag. Or you could do smaller ones, like I'm doing. Okay, so we have that part. So we're going to take this and we're going to put them right sides together. And what I like to do is I like to match the bands first to make sure that they're even on both sides. So they're not off. I'll take my time and I'll be here all day clipping those bands. Together. just clip. Put as many clips or as few clips as you want. Okay, so I'm going to start on one side. I'm still at a 2.5 stitch length, and we're going to stitch out a 1/2 inch. Back stitch really well at the beginning and at the end of each stitch. Each seam allowance that we stitch. Make sure you do a raw edge. Just a raw edge. If you need to position anything, just have your needle down. Cutting off seams, threads, not seams. Okay, and then what I like to do is I like to press these seam allowances open a little bit. And then we're going to trim the seam allowance. I really like to set the stitches, and in quilting and when you're making garments, you're always like ironing and it's setting the stitches. So it's something I practice a lot, setting those stitches. Now we're going to reduce the bulk and we're going to trim it down to 1/4 of an inch. And I'm just going to use some pinking shears so it can lay flatter and just distribute the bulk better. Now you don't have to iron the seam open. It's just, like I said, something that I do. And you could trim this down with regular scissors. You don't need pinky shears. It's just, it just spreads out the bulk, like when it's little V's versus straight on. Okay, so now we're going to grab our exterior bottom piece. Let's make sure I have it, which I don't think I do. It must be on my cutting table. Let's see. see. Give me just a moment. I think I see them. All right, let's see. Okay, so you're going to find your centers and you're going to mark them because they're going to be where you're going to be matching the seams. I'm going to be using a lot of clips. Again, I don't staple because I'm afraid. So we're going to take one seam and match it center to center, which I already broke this clip. Center to center. And this is going right here. Matching. This is why I draw on everything, so that way I can try to match as best as I possibly can before I'm distributing the bulk. So I start I kind of push in so this gets set in to the bag. I'm using Decaville Heavy right here. And I just start with where I each quarter first, trying to distribute the bulk evenly. Now you can use staples here. You can even just start sewing from this straight in to this straight in and then going around. There's a lot of ways you can do this. But I feel like when you kind of push in the stabilizer piece is the size basically of the bag's going to be, and it leaves exactly 1.5 inch around. So if you can get this stabilizer piece kind of sunken into the inside of the bag, then it just distributes the fabric a lot easier. Now if it gets really fussy, then I'll cut into the exterior to 1/4 of an inch to help spread out the bulk easier, to make it easier. It's just about not having little crinkles and distributing that easing in the fabric. I know stapling is so much easier. It just staples really freak me out. I am super accident prone. Like, I should come with like insurance. Just gonna pour out some clips so that I'm not sticking my hand in this jar. And for me, this is the longest part of the bag. Taking your time and really just easing in the fabric, it'll pay off in the end. Where it looks like a clean bottom on the bottom of the bag. Yeah, this is a lot of clips. I don't even know how many clips I'm using right now. So I just need to ease this one in on this side. Okay, so we have now a million clips on here. And we're going to start sewing. And just take your time, use a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Take your time. You got this. Breathe. Notice how I left a small space to start off. That's where I'm starting off. You can start off anywhere that you like. Just make sure you follow that 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm still at 2.5, and I will backstitch. And I'm just taking my time and following the seam gauge on my sewing machine at a 1/2 inch. And if you see like a crinkle, as long as it's behind your needle, it won't show up. If it does it in front of your needle, then it will show in the bag. And if it does, it's not the end of the world. We could fix it. We could turn the bag inside out before we cut seam allowances and see where we need to restitch if needed. Stop with the needle down, and you're gonna get squishy with your bag, and that is perfectly okay. Keep raw edges together, and it helps when you use like a stiletto or something else so you're not using your fingers. Ask me how I know about the finger thing. It's not fun. We're almost at the finish line. Okay. And so we backstitched, and then I'm going to take these bazillion clips and put some back in the canister so I don't have clips flying everywhere. Alright. So we have it. I'm going to just turn it inside out, turn it right sides out one time before I trim the seam allowance, and then turn it again. I just want to make sure I don't have like crinkles on the bottom or where I need to fix it, because this is now to fix it before I trim the seam allowance. Okay. So I don't see any puckers or crinkles. It's a nice perfect shape. So I'm gonna go back and turn it wrong sides out, and then trim up the seam allowance on here real quick to 1/4 of an inch. And I'm just going to use my pinking shears again. And it's a little bit thicker than, if you're using pinking shears, it's a little bit thicker than before. Going through a lot of layers. Just do not hit that stitch line. Just stick to that 1/4 of an inch and you won't. Okay, now we're going to turn it right sides out. And just roll that seam in between your fingers. You can use your iron. I just finger press it, and we have the exterior of the bucket bag. And it looks pretty cute. Alright, let's make this lining real quick. There's no pockets, so this should be relatively fast. So with the, if you were installing the zipper, which I am not because I'm making this a drawstring, you're going to pin the zipper in between the lining so that way it can have a zipper, but we are not doing that, so we're going to do this, do the same thing we would do with if the zipper was in there. We're going to do 1/4 of an inch and then top stitch it. We're going to take the lining piece and the zipper facing, and we're going to put them together at 1/4 of an inch. That's what you would do if you have a zipper in it. Remove the pinking shears and back stitch really well. some threads. Press the seam down. I'm going to press the seam up and top stitch. I'm just finger pressing it. Top stitch 1/8 of an inch above the seam. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for the other piece. Rethread my thread real quick because I decided to unravel. I hate when that happens. And I just, I'm using Sew Fuse for my interfacing. It gives it a little bit of structure. Because the quilting cotton that I have is like a chambray. It's like, I don't know, it shreds so easily. But it's so soft and the color is just like really gorgeous. I got the lining fabric from, oh my goodness, what is that store called? I think it's called, I will find it and put it in the down below. It's a quilting store online, and I personally love getting my linings from them because the I don't know, they have very cool colors that I don't see like if I go to Joann's or Hobby Lobbies, or if I'm going to Walmart. They just have really unique colors. So we're going to we're going to do the 1/2 inch side. We're going to leave one part that has like a 6-inch opening. So I'm just going to mark it on this side so we could turn the bag. You can place it anywhere, just make sure it's not in the seam that we just created. And I'm going to match seam to seam. And trim excess threads. Apparently I have everywhere. And a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Back stitch really well. And then when I get to the area that I'm going to leave the opening, I like to back stitch a lot. Now I'm moving my thread, and you're seeing it bunching because I'm going to cut the tail ends when I'm done where the opening is. Back stitching. So this is where I'm going to have the opening of the bag. So I just cutting those threads. I have a nice size hole here so that way I can turn the bag. You can do this if you're putting a pocket in there so that you don't have it on the side. But I actually really like the fact that this is on the, I like when bags are turned through the side because then you don't see it in the lining, and no one really looks at the side of the bag. You're like going inside. Okay, and then I'm going to trim threads, and I'm definitely going to use my iron and open up the seam. And we're going to trim 1/4 of an inch, except the area that has the opening. This is why I'm pressing the seams open, because if the seams are open and you press it along with everything else, it'll just be easier when you're turning the bag, when you're trying to close it. It automatically wants to be in the area that when you turn it, it'll be really, really easier when you're sewing the lining back up when you're trying to close it. We're going to get to the fun part of putting grommets in and all that fun stuff. And my neighbors are going to hate me when I punch holes because I'm about to get that mallet and bang, bang, take out aggression, and you know, things like that. It's real good, healthy stuff. Using the pinking shears. Now this is the side that doesn't have the opening, so I'm just doing the 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I know I'm not the only one that feels this, but like, have you ever just like, when you're done sewing and you look on the ground or you look on your lap, you feel like you have a bird's nest? Like, it's just so much. So what I usually do is where the opening is, I kind of make a V, snips, to know not to snip, to trim that seam allowance. And it just makes my life easier. So I know when I get to this V, not to trim it. All right. Trim that seam out. I almost accidentally did it on camera. That would have been funny. Like, well, this is what we do to fix this mistake. You can, if you trim it, it's easy to fix it, but it's not fun. So we're doing the same thing. We have our seams that are going to match, except these don't have a center seam. So what you're going to do is find your centers, and you're just going to mark it. Mark it. Let's see. Just double check it. I don't want it to be wibbly wobbly, you know. Yep. All right. I'm going to match my lines, my centered lines, and flip. And this one's so much easier than the exterior. You'll see. Because it's more pliable, less interfacing. And the side seams match this. Matching raw edges to raw edge. Yeah, I have an arrange of clips. I'm a hoarder of clips too. All right. We're going to sew around this at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and you'll see this one goes extremely fast compared to the exterior piece. Make sure you backstitch well. Half-inch seam allowance. Okay. And then I'm going to trim my seam allowance to 1/8 of an inch. I mean 1/4 of an inch. Do not cut into your stitches. I mean, I think I say that enough, like trim your threads and backstitch. I'm not really saying that to you. I'm saying that to me. Because I'm not sure my threads that great. And then they'll be like a little bird's nest, threads catching each other when I'm trying to put it back together, and it's super frustrating. If there's a product that I'm using that you're curious about and I don't list in the description box, please leave a comment and I will answer it. Alright, so we're going to take our exterior that I placed here and put it inside our lining. Right sides together. And we're just going to match side seam to side seam. I always think Bonnie is a small bag until I put it together. I'm like, oh my gosh, you are kind of massive. But it's okay. You're beautiful. Okay, so how I do this is when we get to I'm not going to trim the top seam. I'm going to flatten it out as much as I possibly can. the reason why I'm not going to trim is that it will help with the interfacing when we put in grommets. That's why I use Sophie's Plus for the exterior to have a little bit of body for the grommets. We're going to sew this at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, sew them together, right sides together. Take your time. If you're like me, I drew lines in the inside of the bag. So that way I know I'm perfectly at a 1/2 inch. Technically, you can trim it down to 1/4 of an inch because the grommets are 3/8 of an inch. Fold. Let's see. Trying to do math when you sew. Let's see. Okay. I take that back. I want the curve, so I'm going to trim at, I have a 1/4 of an inch, and my husband has a cue card. Drink some water. Yes, please stay hydrated. I don't know if you're like me, but you get into your little sojo mode, and then like you don't eat or drink. Yeah, that's me, 100%. So water is your best friend. Again, you don't have to use your pinking shears, but I don't know. I'm kind of used to using them now. All right. So we're going to do the abracadabra and birth the bag. So we are going to do it from the side. I'm just going to grab the bottom of the base of the bag and just literally pull it through. All right. So I'm going to stuff the bag right inside each other before we do close lining. I like to top stitch before I close the lining. I'm just rolling the seam before I get the iron and press it. I'm tugging the lining down. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my handy dandy iron and I'm going to make sure that the lining is pressed inside of the bag. I'm just rolling the seams. Okay, I'm going to put my iron back down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip each area to make sure the seam stays where I want it to. Just a couple of clips. It doesn't have to be the whole bag. Just want to make sure that the lining's not peeking through. And then I'm going to do something that's probably super irritating, but to get a really nice top stitch, I'm going to turn this bag lining sides out. You don't have to do it all the way, but like you can kind of smush your bag a little bit. And so the right side of the bag, when I'm top stitching, because I have a flat bed, so the right sides of the bag will now I can see exactly where I'm stitching. So I kind of make a little bird's nest, and then I'm going to top stitch. And I like to start in a seam so that way when I back stitch, it's not as noticeable. And I'm top stitching at 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to crease my stitch to a 3. Line clips. Okay. All right, I'm gonna trim threads. Turn the bag right sides out. And then I'm gonna close up this line. This bag's super cute. It's all like nice and clean inside. So I'm just gonna grab this lining. And this is why I said to iron. Because if you see when you iron it, it automatically wants to already close up on itself. So that one little step can help tremendously. So I'm gonna take a few clips. And I'm going to top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch to close the thing. Or you could do a slip stitch hand sewing. I like to do that, but not right now. Make sure you back stitch. Okay. close as I can. Okay. All right sides together. Punch this bag in. Now we get to have some fun. We're going to be making some grommets and ties. So we have this really cute bucket bag. Loving the slip pocket. Okay. And here is where we're going to start having fun. We're going to grab our instructions and our template for the Lucy, and we're going to use them here. Okay. Let's see. Looking for a marking tool that will show up on this blue. I always pick like the random colors that don't show up that well. Let's see. I'm guessing I'm just going to have to use black. I'm looking. So we're going to place the grommets you want to match this at the edge, this as the edge of the center seam. So where your first seam is, you just going to take a couple clips. They're about, we're going to make 12 grommet holes. So I'm going to place a few clips on it in the center seam, and I'm going to make a mark. Let's see. I'm just trying to see what. I'm going to use this Tandy Leather Silver pen. Nope, that is, no, it might show up. Hold on. I think that through. Let's see. No, you can barely see it. I'm going to probably use black. Let's see. I'll use this bright orange, and hopefully that will show up. We're going to put a hole through it anyway, so. You just want to make sure that your holder placements are visible. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Put this into the center seam. And then we're going to go on the other side. Match the edge of the center seam. And let's see. Okay. All right. I'm just going to have this paper out just in case I need to redo it. We're going to punch holes. I know this part's like super scary. You're like, my baby, it's my bag. I'm going to be using a mallet, and I have my rivets here. my grommets here. So there's a few things I'm going to do. One, I'm going to take out my Rivet dies and put in my grommet dies. Oh, yeah. Let's see. I should have put the bottom in first. I knew that. Come on, Charlotte. Then I'm going to grab my board that I could punch through. And I'm going to make sure I'm not trying to punch through the other layer. So you're going to see me let me move this out of the way. I'm going to punch the holes where the dots are, but I'm not trying to punch through on the other side. I'm just doing each quarter at a time. I'm just centering it, and then I'm going to grab a mallet. I usually do this on the floor, and give it a couple whacks. Try to get a clean hole as I possibly can. Sometimes with fabric, it does not want to come clean, and you just need to use your scissors, and we're going to use fray check on all of this. You just want a clean hole so that way when we install the grommets, there's not little furs and fuzzies everywhere. Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with this fabric, the lining fabric. Like, unplug my iron, move this because it works better when I have an standing position and I can strike better. Aha. And this is like, you can get this is just one that you can get at Home Depot, Lowe's, or you can go on Amazon. We have like different sizes, 3/8 of an inch. 1/2 inch, 1/4 of an inch. Now you can use your press and buy press plates and do it. It will help your neighbors not hate you. Get your tension out. You're like, I prefer to do this over the press plates, believe it or not, because if you're angry or you just need to get out some aggression, just, hammer some stuff. A few more to go, and my neighbors won't be like, what is going on in the basement? It's Halloween, so it'll be funny when I have Halloween party. I have a lot of stuff here. I was like, what if we carry out trash bags after this? I was like, And I'm just looking for those yellow marks and striking where they are. Okay, 2 more to go. Normally I have a metal thing underneath and then a rubber mat, so that way the striking can kind of bounce off of each other and you don't need to strike as much. Okay. We're done with hammering right this section. That was fun. Okay. Get all these circles. Okay. So I'm going to get some fray check. This one has a tendency of dripping really fast. But I'm going to just bring it around this area and the inside too. I have my hand in between to make sure that no glue goes on the other side. If you don't have fray check and you have like fabric tack, that could work too. Okay. Now I'm going to open up my grommets and washers. And grab 12 of the front. And somehow I got magically one big one that doesn't go with it. That's pretty cool. It's like a lucky penny. Now, you can probably get away with putting what I plan on doing is using for side clips, but I'm wondering if this is going to be big enough. If not, then I can use a smaller one, but yeah, I should have thought that out. Hold on. I will think of a way. I will figure something out real quick. It doesn't need like a whole lot of pressure to put it through. I got my press from, Minkus and Margo. I'm going to move this because this is not helping me. I got my press from Minkus and Margo. They're a mom and pop place on Etsy, and I just love their customer service. They're amazing. And they have like a lot of different dyes, and they have like YouTube videos on how you can how you set things. Yeah, that other one wasn't helping. I didn't set all of them. Okay. You're going to see me do an impromptu, how we're going to put the handles on. Because I totally thought the washer, these grommets were going to be wide big enough to put this on, but it just won't. It won't be. It'll be squishing down the fabric when you do it. So I am going to add tabs to the side with probably some waterproof canvas. These two D-rings that are antique or square or rectangle, 1 inch or 3 inch wood, 3/4 of an inch. Sometimes you have to go impromptu when you didn't think everything out through. Okay, and we have one more. One more. Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to fix a mistake in my calculations real quick. It happens more often than one thinks with me. All right. Okay. I am going to take this waterproof canvas because it doesn't fry. And I'm going to make, I think 3 inches would be good on each one. So I will make it 8, and I'm going to fold it in half for extra durability. So I'm going to make this 4 by 8. I'm going to grab some double-sided tape. What do I want to do first? Yeah, double-sided tape. This is a half an inch. I get from Wax. I love Wax tape. It just is super sticky, and it comes to me extremely fast. I think they're in Philadelphia, and I live in Maryland, so whenever I order something, I literally get it the next day, and I'm so excited about that. But from other sew friends, they tell me that Wax comes fairly fast to them too. So I have a 1 inch. I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch top stitch down. Okay. And then I want 3 inches. So I'm just going to draw a line there. And I'm just going to go and do a line right there and right there so that it looks like it's closed off, and a cut right above it. Oops. I'm just like a hot mess moving everything around today. Okay. Accidents happen all the time. It's learning how to fix the mistake and make modifications that like make all the difference in the world. All right. All right. So I'm going to take these antique square, and I'm going to put it on the seam. There's a seam on the seam. I'm going to clip it in place, and then I'm going to punch a hole and use rivets. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, so I'm going to remove my grommet and put in my rivet die. I'm gonna grab my hole puncher. And I'm going to punch a hole 1/4 of an inch on both sides of the seam, so I'm not actually punching into the seam. Let me grab some rivets as I just let go of my thing. I need 4 rivets, and I'm using small. I get these from Emmaline Bags. Really stellar rivets. I've never had an issue with any of their rivets, and the customer service is top notch, and they ship incredibly fast, and the package is shipped like nicely, like with care. Because like, have you ever got a package and it looks like someone just threw it in a box? You don't get that with Emmaline. They like wrap everything really secure, and it's just something that I really appreciate as a customer. It makes you want to go back. There was no rhyme or reason that I did 2. You can do 1 if you wish. I just thought it would look good with 2. And I'm just going to put the cap on. Oops, and not try to fling rivets around or throw clips off the table, because apparently anything that's on my table right now is just getting thrown off. Okay. My rivet went inside my bag. Punch this hole one more time on this side, because there we go. I could have used a medium. I just don't like to have like an extra long post, because then like it never sets right. It needs to be a little bit bigger, not like not even 1/8 of an inch, like a hair, 1/16 of an inch more than your fabric, because you want the post to set right. Okay, and then I'm going to do this on this side too. Just punch the holes. I'm doing 1/4 of an inch on both side seams, so that way I'm not interfering with the top stitching or the side seam stitching. No stitching will be messed up. Okay. It's my hole puncher. My hole puncher really, I'm going to get a better one. I need a new hole puncher and a new iron. Mini. So once I get those two things, I think everything will be okay. I feel like, I think I found one. Someone suggested one to me, but I was shocked by the sticker price. So it's in my cart. I'm thinking about it. I read the reviews. The reviews are really well. Okay. The struggle is real with my hole punch. Set this. Okay. Oh, okay. So we have our grommets, we have our two rings, and now we're going to make the tie and the strap. So let me top stitch the strap. The strap is a 1-inch strap, so it's going to be one second, because apparently I forgot to fold in. It's a 4-inch, and then I'm going to fold in by a 1/2 inch. I'm just forgetting everything today. And I'm going to top stitch 1/8 inch. And this is just the regular adjustable strap. You can just do like a 20-inch strap, and then it could just go on your shoulder. I'm making this so this is kind of a crossbody. So I'm doing an adjustable strap real quick. And this is just regular cotton with Sophie's Plus as the interfacing. Folding it in on itself so there's no raw edges exposed. And as you can see, I actually pinned mine in place. And I'm just making sure no raw edges are exposed. And then we're going to make our tie. And I'm going to plug in my iron because we're going to need to press the right sides together on that one to make the actual tie itself. Just look over your stitching. Make sure you catched everything if you didn't. If you're using cotton like me, you can go back and fix things by if you catch it. Trim threads. Okay. And I'm going to get my hardware real quick and some rivets. I'm going to stick my slider in, and I'm going to have a 2-inch tail. I'm going to trim. I like to punch like 2 holes so that way I have 2 different rivets. I just eyeball it. They're probably like 7/8 apart or 1 inch apart. It's not I literally just eyeball it. You can sew this if you don't have rivets. And then I'm going to set these rivets. I'm going to take one of my clamps and thread it through, making sure that everything's not twisted, and then feed this through. It would help if this was in the way, huh? So you have that. It's still kind of in the way. Hold on. So you feed it through and you have that. I'm going to grab this other clamp. Make sure it's going the same direction. And I keep like a 1 or 2 inch tail, and just do 2 rivets. I have no rhyme or reason for 2. I think I just like the way it looks. And the cap. Okay, and then I am going to set this. Okay, and I'm going to take my stuff and put it to the side so I can get we're going to make the slide adjuster as well as the actual drawstring. I'm going to get my press and get my drawstring fabric. and follow the instructions on for the drawstring. So we're going to fold in the short ends about a 1/2 inch in. So again, if you're like, okay, I really am not the one with measurements, you could just draw an inch on both sides. And you can then, I thought the iron was on, because 1 second. Then you could take your iron when it's hot and you could press your short ends towards that 1 inch line. So it's exactly a 1/2 inch when you press it down. There we go, Steen. Okay, so from here, what I usually do is I just fold it in half on itself so we can create a center mark. And it just helps because this is going to be a side anyways, and it'll just have like a nice crease for us to follow, to fold it in on itself. You can use double-sided tape. I just don't want to gum up my needle, so I'm just going to press. It's not press it and then it'll be okay. And as you can see, my iron is leaking again. Yay for me. I don't know. I have weird luck with irons and leaking. So like what I normally use for my iron is I have a gravity feed, and I love that iron. It's like my favorite thing. Because it just makes like it's super hot or whatever. But this right here is ridiculous. It just leaks. This one's on Amazon. I don't recommend it. If you haven't heard me gripe enough about it, then yeah, don't get it. It's not good. So we're going to press down the center, and you're kind of leaving just like 1/8 of an inch gap, so that way this can fold on itself really well. Oh my goodness, it is like a hot mess. YouTube fail. At least, you know, there's video proof of me saying, hey babe, I need a new iron. He'll say yes anyways because he's a good guy. But I can be like, look at this video. I need a new iron for the table. Because when my kids are in class, I have 2 kids that are in virtual class. I sew at the dining room table, and I bring this little pad up and the iron to iron linings and whatnot. And when it leaks, it kind of, you're just like, ah, this sucks. It's not being that hot. Hopefully next week when I'm doing tutorials on how I'm going to show you how to do a reverse applique and applique on a bag front to make it look like a pumpkin. I get a lot of questions about how I modify and how I do applique, like 3D dimension things on my bags, and that is going to be one of Novaween's lessons. And then we're also going to do sew a really cool bag from Georgia Stitch Girl. And we're going to have some fun with some leather, and I'm going to show you how you can use leather and use, you know, a domestic machine. Because I know when I was first making bags, I was using my brother, and I'm like, there's no way I can sew leather. But there's other things you can do with leather to make the bag look super high-end and super chic without ever sewing the leather. So I'm really excited about next week. I'm excited about this Bonnie bag, minus the fact that my iron is like sucking. But it's okay. We're gonna work this out. We'll clip it. I'm going to just put this down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a million clips and I'm going to clip this down. Not a million. It's not that big. It's like 40 inches. Not 40 inches, like, yeah, it's 40 inches. I was right. So it's not that big. So we can just use a couple clips. Or if you're using cotton like me, you can throw a couple pins in there. We just want all the raw edges towards the lining. I mean, towards the inside, so there's nothing exposed, no fraying, all that good stuff. What I like about the Bonnie is that there's endless opportunities. Like I said, you can put really cool slip pockets, zipper pockets in the inside. You can use a lot of hardware, or you don't have to use a lot of hardware. But we're almost done. As soon as we sew this up, I'm going to show you two methods you can do with either hardware, or I think I'm not going to do hardware and do the cute little knots at the end. All right, let's move this out of the way. And let's sew 1/8 of an inch back stitching the beginning and the end. At least you guys can say, well, Shinova's not just showing me when she makes really super awesome bags and she doesn't make mistakes. That is not the case. I make mistakes on a daily basis, and mistakes is what makes us a better sewist, honestly, because it makes you think outside of the box. Like, what can I do to fix this? Like survival camp for sewing. Okay, and I'm going to go down the other side at 1/8 of an inch. Trimming threads. Making sure if I didn't catch something that I can correct it right now. Okay, so we have this, and then we just have to make this the cincher, and we are done. Okay, hold on. I have one area that has another mistake. Let me just triple check any other areas. It's magic. It's happening. I have like 3 sets of hands if you haven't noticed. Whenever I say it's magic, that means my husband's doing something. You know what? I probably didn't make a mistake because, okay, here's the thing. I love varying thread, but the problem is when it goes like light to dark, sometimes I think that I didn't catch something, and then I have to look close. I'm like, oh, I did do that. All right, so this is all done. Okay. All right, let's make this cincher. I bet I'm going to have to iron, but we're going to figure this out. We're going to do this. So we're going to fold, we're going in half. Okay. So we're going to fold right sides together and match the 2 shorter inches long edges. So at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I'm going to back stitch. Okay. And we're going to turn the 2 right sides out. I have fat fingers, so this is not to my advantage. Would have been better if I would have bought like a pair of hemostats or. There we go, come on. Okay. Then we're going to have the seam go down the middle. Okay. Raw edges, turn them inside by 1/4 of an inch. Okay. Push the seams open. Man, this is not a lot of material to work with. The struggle is real, people. Okay. I think up stitch. And 1/8 of an inch down this long seams. Okay. And then, okay, so we turn in we're going to sew along the raw ends at 1/4 of the inch seam allowance. Oh, okay, I get it. All right. Okay. Okay, I get it. I see what they're doing. Now we're going to fold this. Darcy is very smart. Let's see. We're going to fold this in on each other, and we're going to sew 1/8 of an inch from each seam. My thread is caught. Hold on. Let's see. There we go. And I'll do it on this short seam too. Okay. I think this is pretty cool. I have my little hemostats here. Alright, so we're going to thread going through the back. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. All right. So I'm going to now thread this. I'm going to do this a little bit easier. I'm going to get my hemostat and just thread this through here. It could be the fingers for me. All right, so we're going to put the center here. And what you can do here is you could put like metal cap ends, which I'm still contemplating on whether or not I'm going to do that. Or you could just make a cute little knot. Then we grab our little strap. You're like totally ready to go. This is super cute. Move the center down. I love this Lucy matchup. It just, that's super cute. You have your slip pocket for your cell phone. This is, I'm kind of loving this. Really smooth, no crinkle bottom. You have a nice interior. And you have your drawstring. So for this bag, you're going to need the Bonnie, and I'm going to put the link for that down below. And then you need to be in the swoon group so that you can go into the file section. And by the way, the file section is amazing. It's like going into a secret library. There is so much stuff. If you look up my name in Swoon, you'll see that I made my husband a Dorian messenger bag. But somebody from like 2017 made an extra large Dorian with all the measurements, and I was able to make him a really nice size Dorian that's all leather with he could fit his computer and all his stuff. So there's so much stuff in there that there's even information to take a Pearl wallet and make it a zip around. There's so much information in there, and with this, I think it's like the third or fourth file down. I'll put the link for it though in here in the description box. You can get the information where Darcy gives you the information how to do the grommet placement. And you see me whack the heck out of some holes and make grommets. And I feel like we had a sewing lesson. I really thought for some odd reason that these grommets would fit on this. And it was a split-second decision, but I really like the side detail of just having there. You just have it in your seam allowance, but if you don't want the bulk, maybe faux leather or waterproof canvas like I did and a couple of rivets. And you just, made your bag a little bit more unique. So if you have any questions, comments, please just put it in the description box and I'll be more than willing to help you. And if you like this video and you feel like it's worthy enough, if you can share it, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and give it a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. I will be seeing you really soon with a quick update on how to make reverse appliques and regular appliques to give your bags a different dimension, and we're going to have some fun making some more bags this month. Until next time we see, happy Novoween. Bye.